But now I'm being joined by the Minister, Lindiwe Zulu. As I told you just before the break, I mean, just have a look at for yourself how splendid she looks in a traditional outfit. Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon, Dan, and good afternoon to your viewers. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, South Africa is waiting with bated breath currently to hear what new message of hope and maybe inspiration we will get from the President tonight. You and your fellow colleagues at a cabinet Lekgotla recently, did you leave that Lekgotla ahead of this confident that what we're going to hear today is a message of hope?
Yes, absolutely, Dan, and thank you very much for picking up on that particular issue of hope, because I believe and we believe that what South Africans need right now, despite all the challenges that we're facing as a country, from energy to hunger to poverty and all, the one thing that we need to really hold on to is the fact that we have hope. We can only build the country. We can never go back again. We can only build the country to a better South Africa, where all South Africans in general feel comfortable that, one, they are protected, two, that they have a government that cares, three, they've got a government that is looking forward to finding solutions together with them, finding solutions to the challenges that are being faced by the country.
Yeah, on our way to Cape Town, my colleague Gareth Edwards and our managing editor John Bailey, we drove down on Tuesday, going to different towns, talking to different people.
You drove down from
Joburg?
Joburg?
We drove down from Joburg.
Lucky you.
Yes, yes, beautiful country, beautiful country.
Yeah.
We spoke to young people and old people, small business owners and stuff. There was one young lady in particular who said in one of the towns to us, the 350 is not enough, you know, the grant. And even we welcome the extension, and then we also had that extra 100, but it's still not enough. Can the president announce that we could be increasing it? So I thought it speak to the basic income grant, universal basic income grant. Will the president indicate something about that today?
Well, look, the president obviously will indicate in terms of what government is planning to do from a point of view of addressing unemployment in particular, which therefore includes the majority who are currently getting their 350. But of course, I've always said the 350 is not enough. It's not even above the poverty line that we normally talk about. It is not enough. However, I've always said it depends on the bigger purse that government has, because government has to cater for almost everything, which therefore means the extension of the 350 was a fight that I think the people of South Africa, those who actually need it, won, because winning the fight around 350 is not about a Lindiwe Zulu. It is about the people showing and saying, with the 350, it does take us somewhere, but it doesn't take us far enough. The president will not necessarily be announcing figures of monies and all.
That will be up to you, the department, yes, the finance minister.
To the finance minister to deal with that. What I'm expecting, obviously, is that the president will generally talk about government's own approach to supporting people who are unemployed and those who are in poverty.
So the message they should hope for is that will continue. That support will continue.
That support will continue, as we had already indicated, by the way, that it is continuing from where we stopped in April to 2024, which means it will end in 2024, but we're not wanting it to end in 2024, because while we might be talking about COVID-19 almost gone and jobs slightly coming back, we will not be at the level where we want the jobs to be. So from a Department of Social Development point of view, we want to see the extension of the 350 much longer than we pushed it to 2024, this financial year.
And the basic income grant, what's the latest thinking on that?
The latest thinking is that, one, we've already agreed on the importance of the basic income grant. Two, we've already are in the process of Parliament, because remember that any policy changes need to go through Parliament and all the parliamentarians need to agree to it. When we took the basic income grant for discussion and debate through the portfolio committee, it was very welcomed by almost all political parties. Others, of course, are always talking about where's the money going to come from.
I was about to say, you're going to face critics who say, where are you going to get the money from?
From the Department of Social Development and from my personal, heartfelt, it's easy for us to say where the money is going to come from and forget about the fact that the people who have absolutely nothing are looking up to us to find the money, are looking up to us to be the ones that maneuver, are looking up to us to prioritize. And if South Africa cannot prioritize hunger, cannot prioritize poverty, cannot prioritize unemployment, then we are in trouble. But the good thing is that we have a government that has told itself that's what it has to prioritize. By the way, Dan, we are from the Conference of the African National Congress, which adopted the basic income grant concept. We are from the Lihutla of the African National Congress, which further said this is the best way to go. The only thing remaining is the how. And the how, we shall find the how.
Yeah, and how much per month you give?
And how much?
What would be the quantum?
I don't want to be getting into that, because we need to look at the fact that food is going up, petrol is going up, everything is going up. So whenever we're thinking about these things, we mustn't think about ourselves who can get into the cars and go. We must think about the people who wake up in the morning with absolutely nothing.
You know, I wish many public servants like yourself would think like that. That it's not about me when I'm here, it's about the people that I'm serving.
Absolutely.
And I must use the means available to do so. And the other question I've had on my mind was the use of technology. I mean, we see these long queues, abo gogo, nabo mama, nabo mkulu, going to receive their grants either through the post office and supermarkets. Are you and your team trying to come up with new ways? I'm asking this against this background. I had a very wonderful experience recently. For the first time, I went to renew my driver's license at the Midrand driving license center.
It's one of the best.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And my wife and I got there at 5:25 in the afternoon, because they close at 9 o'clock at night, and we were done by 6 o'clock. Didn't take both of us half an hour. And that experience can be used elsewhere. What are your thoughts about enabling and helping and assisting Abokoko and Abomkulu not to be standing in the queues the whole day?
Let me just start from the impact of COVID-19 and go to the 350. Nobody went to any office to apply for anything. Everybody had to use their phones, and everybody had to be processed through their phones, and everybody had to be approved, and everybody had to get their money at the end of the day without going anywhere. And I've said to the department, including SASSA, in particular SASSA, technology, which, by the way, is homegrown. There's a whole lot of technology that is now homegrown in South Africa. We need to use that technology, and we're going to be working together with the Minister Nchaveni, Kumbuzo Nchaveni, in terms of the post office and the post bank and all that, to say to them, you've also made our people suffer a lot, because they go to the post office, they are told the money is not there, they're told to come back the following day. We are hoping that the budget, when the budget comes, will also go into capitalizing the post office and the post bank, so that they can tune into new technologies. I would like the elderly people to sit at home and be able to use the phone, or their children help them to use the phone. I'd like them to travel a very, very short distance instead of getting into buses at 4 in the morning.
And transport costs are so high.
I want that gone like yesterday. Okay. And technology is enabling us to be able to do that.
It's good to hear that you're going to build on the experience of during COVID-19 with the 350. Now, on a completely different matter, you're an activist, anti-apartheid activist, but you're also a gender activist. GBV still looms large. I mean, there's been 2 summits of GBV under the president. There's been money thrown at it. There's been campaigns. Even men have taken up to march to the Union building to say, not in my name, and all of that is being done. Yet again, another young woman was killed, alleged by a boyfriend last week at TUT in Togozo Kaba. What would you want? What would you tell us? What do you hope the president would say tonight about really us getting to grips with this epidemic?
The president will probably tell us to get into action. The president will probably tell us to go beyond summits and everything. And the Department of Social Development, one of the things that he keeps insisting on is the coordinated approach. So you have the police, you have social development, you have women, youth and people with disability. You've got all other departments focusing on this, because the president has said to us, it's not a problem of women, youth and people with disability. It's not it's a problem of the police alone. It's a societal problem that needs all of us to move together. What I think I'm excited about is the men who have stood up and said, not in our name. Not only did they stand up to say so, they practically doing something. But when all is said and done, then it is about us dealing with the issue house to house, street to street, community to community. If we can get our entire government thinking about it in that way, that you have got community policing forums on the ground, we have NPOs who we spend money on, and I keep repeating, we spend 8.2 billion on NPOs per year. The value for the money is for those NPOs to be able to work house to house, street to street, community to community. This is a problem that we must all face up to. And lastly, it's not just the issue of gender-based violence alone. It is a problem of violence in South Africa in general, where we still have people who think solving a problem is about going out and boxing each other. We need to be able to then work with communities. It's about the people. If we think we can work without them, we'll never be able to get anywhere. It's about us mobilizing our communities to report it when they see it, to hear when the woman is crying, to know that something is going on in the neighbor's place, because we live in the communities and people know what's happening. Of course, in the suburbs, we've got long, tall walls, and so sometimes we don't see. But in many of our communities, we need to make sure that we take this issue very seriously, collectively as South Africans.
What about rural women?
Oh yes, rural women. We've got a program under the Department of Social Development. We've got the psycho-social support. We've got the places of safety where we take some of these women. We don't have that much in the rural areas. We need to focus on in the rural areas. So we think that a combination of all that put together must be able to have a greater impact. The challenge we face in rural areas, instance, is that people live quite a distance from each other, and in many instances we come when it is too late, and the police are also overstressed. One other important element to this whole thing is about us strengthening our local and provincial governments. It's one thing for me as a minister at the top to be saying all these things. It's another to have structures that are operational, that are functioning, that are working very well. So strengthening of local government structures is one of the things that we need to focus on.
Yeah, the other issue is that the President spoke about last year is making government work more efficiently. What can we expect him to say about that? Because, for example, people point, you just use the word integration, that things have to be better integrated. Sometimes you don't get a sense that things are being integrated. One department will be doing something, there might be duplication here and there, and one is not aware. What should we hope to hear?
You need to hope to hear from the President as the leader of the executive, cracking the whip when it comes to such things, so that we need to report to him and be able to say to him, you asked us to do the following things, and the monitoring and evaluation at this point in time is critical. And remember, monitoring and evaluation sits in the office of the President, and therefore all the things that we talk about as different departments needs to be monitored and evaluated, so that the President is then able to call me and say, I signed a performance agreement with you. In your performance agreement, here are the following things that you said you were gonna do. Where are you with those things? He does that, obviously, but I'm sure he's going to talk about him strengthening those structures so that he can have a pulse of what we do most of the time.
And the modernization of the public sector, what are the thoughts from the cabinet, basically, without you telling us details of what the President might say about it, but is there an appreciation of how urgent it is to professionalize the public service?
Absolutely. Those are things that have already, we've got the blueprint already sitting with us, but it's one thing to have the blueprint and it's another to get things moving. I'm sure the President will speak to the fact that without an effective, efficient and a public service that is also sensitive to people. See, when you are in an office and you are a public service and a servant and you're thinking I'm getting my salary and all, and you don't have it here and here for the people that you're serving, it becomes very difficult. So one of the challenges that we need to do is to make sure that there is that sensitivity of public service to the needs of our people and therefore responding, because the money is there, by the way. We all are given budgets, we all pass the budgets and we all have the different programs that we have in place. It's about ensuring that those are delivered. I think the president has gone quite a long way, together with his cabinet, in responding to the challenges that are faced by the public service. We know that sometimes it's issues of salaries, whether there's increases and all that, but it's also about accountability. Do we have strong systems that make public servants to be accountable to the work that they do?
Do the unions understand that? From your experience, I mean, you're running a social development department, you've played other roles. Sometimes when you're sitting from the outside and we're covering a public service strike, we wonder, and we are hearing the demands of double-digit salary increases, for example. Do they appreciate what you've just explained?
I think they do appreciate. Sometimes it's a question of the communication between us and them. When we open too much of a gap, and then we are not also able to go and present to them the challenges that are being faced by government, we need to be engaging with them at all times. They do understand. Sometimes they don't, because they're looking at the challenges that they face. Everything is going up, so when everything goes up, what happens to them? What I think we are going to be moving into is to say to them, irrespective of all the challenges that you are facing outside, there is a purse that needs to be distributed to the entire country. People who have salaries, to some degree, we can say at least they have those salaries, they have the jobs. And by the way, public service has got a lot of perks that goes with it. The medical aid, the housing subsidy, and a whole lot of others, but it's not for all levels. What we need to focus on, even in the public service, the lowest, the ones that are at a lower level, what happens with them? Because if I talk about my DG, my DDGs, my chief directors, those are in a much better situation. We need to look at the lower ones. Collectively, as South Africans, we need to be conscious of the fact that we belong to a broader world, a global world, and the world is facing exactly the same problems that we are facing. It's about the leadership at the time. And when I talk about leadership, I'm not talking about government. I'm talking about leadership across the board, whether it's leadership in the unions, whether it's leadership in the NPOs and so forth. At some point, we need to stop and say collectively, where is our country? Where do we want it to go? How do we move with each other without necessarily pointing fingers at all times?
Yeah, we're going to be concluding. I mean, thank you for the time. Just finally, there's a red carpet there that's been set up there. People are going to be walking. You look splendid, as I told you, and it's beautiful.
Thank you.
In the traditional thing.
Thank you.
But I'm just wondering, could not we have reduced the pomp and ceremony somehow? From what you've just said, I mean, globally, the world is in a very tough place at the moment, including us.
Actually, we have, if we're to think about it. The red carpet, as you can see, is just a short legal carpet there. The fact of the matter is that certain ceremonies that we must always preserve for our own history, for our own lifting of our own spirits, by the way, because lifting of our spirits, we can be in the poorest, at the lowest level, but we always need to find things that can always show us to be South Africans. And I think the pomp and ceremony was long cut. Remember 1994, 95, there used to be dinners, very elaborate dinners and all that after Parliament. That's gone now. We don't have that. And it's all about the sensitivity. However, then, let me say, that red carpet, I don't look at it as just a red carpet. I'm hoping that most of the people who are going to be walking in here, they bought, they are, whatever they're wearing, from local designers.
Proudly SA.
Proudly South African. I think that's what we need to encourage all the time. But also, we need to help them. And by helping them, we need to be the ones that show their work, so that some people can then go tomorrow and say, well, I saw Minister so-and-so wearing this. Can you also? Because what South Africa needs right now is production. Production, production, production. The more we produce, the more the jobs we create. So let's watch out today and see. And some of us, I've been a Minister of Small Business Development. So I started from there, and Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams continued from there. Proudly South African, let us support our local. So
when we are watching your viewers and South Africans tonight, we must thinking, we are having our spirits being uplifted here. Yep. Everybody needs a bit of a fillip up, and let's support local.
Absolutely.
Minister, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
That's Minister Lindiwe Zulu of Social Development. She's been with me here for quite a long time. She's getting ready for tonight.